Hey, good morning, everybody. I We're getting up and running here. It is Tuesday, September 23rd. I gotta kind of make this a quick one this morning. I've got an appointment in a little less than an hour, so I gotta rip right through this. Hopefully, I do it justice. Lord, bless the words that we are about to talk about and guide in this conversation. Amen. Okay, yesterday in Romans 6, we talked about baptism and how that is a ceremonial cleansing and rebirth. So we talked about that. Today we're talking about newness of life, and that's Romans 6, verses 4 through 7. So, therefore, we have been buried with him through baptism into death, so that as Christ was raised from the dead through the glory of the Father, so we too might walk in the newness of life. For if we have become united with him in the likeness of his death, certainly we shall also be in the likeness of his resurrection, knowing this, that our old self was crucified with him, in order that our body of sin might be done away with, so that we would no longer be slaves to sin, for he who has died is freed from sin. So, walking in newness of life and freedom from sin. And so newness of life, okay, and that's bear with me. Canotetti, Kainotetti. How about that? Cano. I don't know. I don't know Greek, so I'm learning. So, newness of life, and life is actually zo, or I guess it can be zao. So, so newness is the freedom of sin's dominion of physical and spiritual life, and life is derived and sustained by God's self-existent life. So, newness of life, the freedom of sin's dominion of physical and spiritual life, derived and sustained by God's self-existent life. That's a lot. So in verse 4, I got into that. Therefore, we have been buried with him through baptism into death, so that as Christ was raised from the dead through the glory of the Father, so we too might walk in the newness of life. So I paraphrased that, broke it down into what makes sense to me. And I'm sorry, I keep looking down, but I gotta look at maybe this will help if I put this just like this. We have assimilated spiritually with Jesus through the act of purification, just as the Messiah was raised from being lifeless and subject to mortal death through the most glorious condition and most exalted state of God the Father, so we too might walk in the freedom of sin's dominion of physical and spiritual life, derived and sustained by God's self-existent life. That sounds pretty good. Verse 5, for if we have become united with him in the likeness of his death, certainly we shall also be in the likeness of his resurrection. So being like we have become united with him, united with him through our salvation in the likeness of his death. So, in the likeness of his death, certainly we shall also be in the likeness of his resurrection. If we have become closely united to Jesus, like this also in his physical death, we will rise again and we will have being. So we will have being. We will be raised from the dead and exist in perpetuity through salvation, death, and resurrection. That's pretty cool. So verses 6 and 7. Knowing this, knowing that we will rise and, have being, knowing this, that our old self was crucified with him, in order that our body of sin might be done away with, so that we would no longer be slaves to sin, for he who has died is freed from sin. We know that our former self was not rehabilitated, but executed in union with Christ on the cross, so that our living body of a violation of divine law might be brought down and would be totally without force, so that we no longer will be subject to sin. Anyone who has died with Christ has been rendered innocent from sin. So through that act on the cross, our living body of a violation of divine law, so us within our sinful state, would be brought down and be totally without force. Not rehabilitated, but our old self is executed, made inert. We no longer will, and we will no longer be subject to sin. We no longer have to be subject to sin. That's a decision on our, as we live in after we receive Christ, it's a decision on our part to engage in sin. But that's our old man always getting under our skin. But we have authority over that. That's the thing, that we have authority of it. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any means. I fail all the time. However, these verses specifically are saying that we have authority over that. So if we have authority over that, which we do, we should be living in that state of authority over sin. For some reason, we have it in our head that we can, or that we are subject to sin. We are not subject to sin. So it's purely a decision on our part to engage in sin. So I'm saying all of this stuff, but I'm talking to myself at the same time, just so you know. There are points as I'm doing all this studying, that that there are things that I'm getting a better understanding of, that things that are being revealed to me in, how do I say this nicely, in how moronic I have behaved in the past, in the ideas that I have engaged in or believed in or thought that I was subject to, or thought that I needed to pursue. Maybe that's a good way to say it. So I guess that I should say to myself, stop pursuing stupidity and pursue good things. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, this was the 10-minute version this morning. I gotta process this video, get my notes made, and get everything up online in the next half an hour, and then head to my morning meeting. So I hope everybody has a blessed day, and I'll see you in the morning. So, note to self, don't pursue stupid things. I'm talking to myself here. See you guys. Bye.